All right, I think. Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm Gabriella, a founder at WeTech, and I'm super excited to have everyone attend today. For those of us with us for the first time, WeTech is an initiative to support women in the tech space through programs, networks, events, community building. We have programs such as our Ambassadors and Fellows program for students, and we run events for women in tech at all levels. Backstory, we're actually planning a Women in Tech conference this August, but due to COVID, we couldn't. We actually undid 50% of the work that we made towards the event. We began this preparation in 2019 to see that it would be a perfect day for us this year. We hope the situation gets better and hopefully we're keeping safe. So hopefully we'll see that event come to fruition. Until then, we're taking other means to advocate for women, such as this event, a pilot mentorship program that'll be coming soon, and watch out for that. In all, I'll say we hope that this virtual event is able to connect more women to our community, and also to keep offering the support, resources, knowledge that we set out for. That being said, if you're here in the chat, I'd like you guys to actually mention where you're tuning in from, and I believe a couple of us will be at the chat to, steer the conversation. For now, we have Debbie and Ariyike first up today, and thank you for joining us. How's both your weekends been going, Debbie and Ariyike?
Yeah, thank you so much for having us, Gabby. My weekend has been quite restful, which is great because it doesn't happen so much. I've just been chilling and trying to relax. So yeah, that's my weekend.
That's good.
It's been quite restful so far. I haven't had to do, so I'm taking the time to rest as much as possible and hoping it continues that way until the end of Sunday. Yeah.
All right, that's cool. So let's start off by, finding out, about you. Can you tell us about yourself, your background, and what should both of you do?
So I guess I'll go first. So I'm Ariyike, like I've introduced, and I recently graduated from university actually with a CS degree. I'm from Nigeria and I'm a product designer. I've been doing this for some time now, and I like to think of myself as someone who's extremely creative, mostly because of how I generally see the world. I think I tend to see all the things that could happen, so for the potential that it has. And I think that's part of what kind of powers my creativity to a great extent. I don't know what else to introduce myself as, but I would say I speak 3 languages, English, Yoruba, and Korean. Yeah. And that always fascinates people because it's why would you learn Korean? But it's a random language. But I'm pretty proud of that fact. And I'm actually currently learning German. So hopefully in a few months, I'll be able to say I speak 4 languages.
All right.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I think that's it. Yes.
How about you, Debbie?
Yeah, so I'm Debbie, and I also recently graduated with a CS degree. Ariyike and I studied together at the African Leadership University. So I graduated with a CS degree, currently work as a product designer at a fintech company. And I also recently started a design studio with Ariyike, and that's what takes up our weekends. Yeah, aside from that, I guess a fun fact is that I hate cats. And
wow.
It gets so bad that I can stand on a table and scream if there's one.
That is impeccable. Okay, that's cool. You guys are pretty interesting. what's interesting actually is, your studio. You mentioned the studio. Can you tell me about Warble Studio? When did you start that?
So this story is always a very it's always a very interesting one to tell, because for us it happened very organically. Like Debbie mentioned, we went to, she didn't say is that we've been friends for like quite some time as well. Like we weren't just classmates, we're also like pretty close. And we've been friends for a while. And over the years, when you hang out, you realize, oh, I have similar tastes to this person, even generally in life. So oftentimes because she also used to design in school the same way I used to design in school, I get projects and I'd be working on it and I'd be like, it would be cool to have Debbie like give me feedback on this, because designs and the way she works. And I just call her up, take a look at this, give me feedback. What should I fix? What should I change? Does this look good? And she would usually do the same. Eventually that translated into like the both of us just working. So someone would give me a gig or give her a gig, and she would call me and be like, do you want to work on this together? And we just end up working on it. And it was always such a fun experience. And we always created work that looked better than if one of us had worked on it. So we'd often just joke and be like, we should do something. We should start a business. It was always a joke up until earlier this year, when we were introduced to a client by one of our mentors. And during the introductory call, he was like, why would you guys just make this official and do it? Like, you're so good at this, just do it, because why not? And before that point, Debbie and I was always like, no, we want to work. We want to do like full-time jobs and like, make our careers into something. I was like, no, we don't have time. And that day I was just like, what do we stand to lose? And we just started from there. We'd have calls and be like, okay, we need a website. We need XYZ. We need this, that. And it just grew from there. So we actually started working on Warble officially, like preparing it for launch at the end of February. And we launched officially in April of this year. So that was how Warble started. And since then, it's been such a great, it's a great thing that we decided to do it, because, you don't realize that people need what you're doing until you're providing that service. And then it seems like, oh, wow, okay, there's such a huge need for this. And it was really interesting, to start and see how useful we are to people that need us. Yeah.
That's pretty interesting and dope. I think what you guys do at Warble Studio is very good, and I can give a personal testament to that. So, I like to think that you guys are doing great things. You went to school, and right after you graduated, you got jobs, you started your studio on the side. That's pretty impressive. Like, how do you balance that? And also, what do you think might have caused, what do you think were key influences to you going this route, like going through design? Because you guys studied CS, you guys didn't go through the non-traditional route. Why did you guys focus on design? Why this route? I would have expected like most designers come from like, let's say, a graphic design background or something. Do you understand? Or graphic arts. How did you get here?
So how we got here, I'd honestly just say it's being consistent with like the practice of design. So like Ariyike mentioned, we both generally loved it growing up. I studied art in high school, and so design has always been there at some point. And then in our school, there's an internship model where we have to go on internships every year. And so for me, one of my internships actually exposed me to UX design, and I didn't even know that was a thing at that point, right? And I felt like it was the perfect blend of the CS degree I was studying and the love for design that I naturally had. And so from there, I started looking into UX design and product design, and then my interest grew even more in design from there. And so that was what made the switch for me, because it was still tech, but then also combined with something that I've liked since I've been born. And so that was what sparked my interest in design.
Okay, that's cool. That's pretty. Ariyike, do you have anything regarding that as well, or? Oh, I think she's out.
Yeah, looks like she dropped off.
Oh. Hey, lost you for a sec. Welcome back. Okay, let's just carry into the following questions. In terms of like design communities, like I've been reading online. I like to listen. I keep my ears to the ground when it comes to like women in tech, programs and things like that. People have mentioned that there's been a less focus in design, and most like tech related like events or programs are like always software engineering, coding, and all of that. Do you know any communities that that are in the design space? Do you know any? Can you mention? Can we talk about it? Like, what do you know about the design communities in Lagos or Nigeria, or pretty much in Africa?
Yeah, so like
I've actually been searching for a few of those as well because of how important it is, to have community and all of that. But one that I know has really helped, especially because I happen to have like a mentorship with them I started a mentorship program with them a few weeks ago, is one that's called Dear Designer. And I think that's a really great. Then I actually also started one, co-founded one with Debbie and 2 other friends from school. It's called Designish, and that's it's less focused on the Nigerian space and more for generally just Africans in design. And the reason why we did this, to be honest, is because we feel like you mentioned, in a lot of places, design isn't seen as something that's, very important. People don't like ascribe the value that it deserves to it. And we think it's important to have Africans, Black people, in the rooms where are being made about how tech is to be used and stuff like that, because you find out that products are built and the people it's being designed for don't get like all the value that they should be able to get because a certain group of people have been overlooked. And it's because, designers who should have been the voice for those groups of people were not in the room that these decisions were being made. And that's what Designish is trying to bring. It's trying to create a space where African designers know these things, what are some of these overlooked issues, and how to progress our careers in addition to like these issues as well, and growing and learning from each other, which I think is something that's very valuable and important as a designer. Like, you can't design in a silo. You have to have feedback, you have to have support for other designers that know what they're doing. Yeah, so those are 2, I think, they really, really interesting design community are doing really good connecting designers and making space for conversations to happen, because they're conversations that are important. And
yeah, I totally agree. I feel like community building is one of the things that actually drives and support people in their respective journeys. I actually know of this one. It's called something that focuses on women. I've heard of She Designs. I'm not 100% on the things they do, but I've heard of it, and I think the program is growing. I like to keep my ears to the ground and find out about programs. So if you guys are interested in that, these are a couple of communities you can actually join if you're interested in product design or just design in general. So I want us to talk about good design. I've worked with you guys. I see how you guys work through your problems. Actually, working with Wabu Studio has been a great experience. I'm just going to do some fangirling and some huge hype right now. And I noticed, like, many times I reach out and ask for a project or request for something, I come with very, very vague ideas. And you as a designer, you somehow are able to translate those ideas in things that I actually want, which I find very interesting. I play around with Figma and all the colors and everything, all the tools. I can't get it right. I have to wait for you guys to create something before I can be able to think, okay, maybe I can mix this up all around. So I want to know, like, what is your thought process, or rather your creation process, when you're coming up with a project that's like a design for someone or whatever it is you're building, and and to you, like, what do you think makes a design good? Like, I feel like there's a lot of thinking that goes into it. Can you elaborate on that?
Who wants to answer this question as well, but I think I'll just go first. To answer your very last question, I think good design is usable. That's it's not enough for it to look pretty. It has to serve its purpose. Like, it has to satisfy the needs for which it was created, and that's the most important thing. If your design doesn't enable people to efficiently carry out the tasks that they need to complete, whether be it like physical industrial design, or design for digital products, or even design of like curricular courses and stuff like that, design generally needs to be usable, and it needs to just enhance efficiency. That's the main definition of design to me. Aesthetics and prettifying things and all of that comes secondary, and it's important too, but it's like beyond usability and all of that. With regards to this process, for me, and the way I think, and the way we try to work at Wabo, it's about understanding the problem first. So you need to get to the root of the issue. And when you say problem, it sounds like you're trying to check out wires and but when I say problems, I mean generally just any design project that you have, or any design, anything. You need to understand it so that you don't find yourself solving another problem. And I talk like this probably because of my CS background, but even for graphic design, it's from that same perspective. You start by understanding the problem. You want to figure out why in the first place is this person even asking for this type of design? Because by asking that, you even figure out, should this be the kind of design that my client should be asking me for, or should thinking of looking at a different direction? You start from there, and by doing that, you even avoid finding out that you've gone down a completely wrong road. So that by starting with the problem, you do a bit of research, which is what we usually do, and you've probably experienced this because you're a Wobble client. We ask questions. We ask questions to get to the root of why, who's the target audience, who's this for, why are you designing this for them, etc., stuff like that, just to get to the essential answers to essential questions. And then from into doing some more supplementary research of our own, for all kinds of design, whether graphic design, UX design, product design, all the designing. You have to do a bit of research on your own, because there's what the client tells you, there's what the brief tells you, and then there's knowledge that you gather from doing a little bit of digging yourself, stuff that you discover by actually like going in search of knowledge, and knowledge that's related to the project, of course, and to figure that out in itself. And then once that's done, you have your research done, you have a better understanding of what's going on. You then apply insights and stuff that synthesized from results of the research into your designing. And I know this sounds very clinical and technical and all of that, but in real life application, it's actually like it's something that happens naturally, at least for me. It's something that just each other flow into each other, and at that design point, that's always my favorite part, because it's where you get to really your skills and experience all the things and all of that. But at that point, you get to design and iterate. And I say iterate because I feel like that system of is really important, because you need to always carry along your users, your clients, at every point. That way you're able to avoid, had that situation in the future where you find out. Started out on a good foot, but then at this particular point, I dropped off and, things went all right. So iterating and designing, send it for feedback, get feedback from your fellow designers, get feedback from the client, from users. Like try to test the designs with them, see if they like what see if it's usable, see if they're able to achieve the tasks that they need to achieve with it, all of that. And then once that cycle of design and iteration is complete, then move into, deploying stuff and all of that, depending on the situation that you're designing for. People often underestimate the importance of instructions and having like a manual. There's an argument that if you design, you don't need a manual, but honestly, you can't make assumptions like that because every user is different and people think differently. And sometimes it's nice to give people a nice reminder that, okay, you might have forgotten or you might, be in a state of intoxication while you're using this, for example. But like, here's how to use this piece of, product that I've made or this graphic, or it's just nice to give them like, okay, simple how to. It's not always complicated, but I think that's important. And that's my design, and it's the general process that we follow at Warble as well.
Okay, that's cool. How about you, Debbie?
Yeah, I think Ariyike touched on pretty much everything in terms of the process. But then a point that I'd like to emphasize is the listening bit of it, right? Yeah. So whenever there's a new design project that comes up, I take the listening bit really seriously, because what I think is good design might not be what the client is looking for, right? Or my style of design might be completely different from what the project entails. And so just really trying to understand and really trying to hear them and see how you can, format your solution to suit the need or the request that the client is giving. So yeah, everything Ariyike said, but then with a strong emphasis on like listening before even designing or before saying, okay, yeah, sure, I know what to do. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds cool. And you know what's interesting? I've worked with a designer, and I'm not throwing shade. They were great, but like it's almost like every time I asked for a design, it's just they wanted to get it done, and that was it. And I'm like, I get it, it works, but like, come on, give me something, add some spice, make it look nice. That's something that for me, like what makes good design, because I really like looking at aesthetics. I like looking at things that are beautiful. Sometimes many people forget that it's not just about satisfying, just getting the job done. Like it's the whole process of getting the design done. I think that's something you guys really emphasize, and I really like to talk about that. On the other hand, can you tell me top 3 traits that you guys see in each other that makes both of you good designers, or great designers in my opinion?
Ariyike, do you want to go first? Ariyike, do you want to go first? Or should I? Can you guys hear me?
I think she's lagging behind, I guess.
All right.
Me, I can't really hear Debbie on it, so I'm just.
Oh, she can't hear you, Debbie. So.
All right.
Yeah. So Ariyike, she was saying you should go first.
Oh, all right. Okay. So I think for me, some traits that I see in Debbie that make her a good designer is that she's a critical thinker. When she gets a problem, the way she deconstructs it before then like applying design principles into like building out, the design of the solution, it's always very fascinating to me. Honestly, I'm still learning, to be honest. I think the way that she thinks critically is something that makes her a great designer. Something else is for detail. Good at picking out, things that people might have, because, as a designer, you tend to gloss over. You're looking for bigger issues when you're looking at things. So sometimes you tend to gloss over like the smaller details that could end up causing catastrophic issues at the end. She's very good at picking that because she has a keen eye for detail. And I would say the third is probably her. Debbie is a very patient person, and this is something that comes very useful when you're working, especially with designers, with users, when you have to interview people to get to the root of the problem, when you have to talk to them, during the times when you're doing the iterations and you keep getting feedback that goes over and over again. So yeah, I think those are that make her a great designer.
How about you, Debbie?
Yeah, so 3 things that make Ariyike a great designer. I would say the first is her learner's mindset. She's always looking to learn a new skill or a new way of doing a particular design, whether it's through a new software or through just, sourcing inspiration on Pinterest or something. She's always looking to learn and to grow in her skill as a designer, which I feel sets her apart because it's not always the same thing that she'll produce, right? There are some designers who they've been designing for 10 years, but if I give them a project, I can almost immediately know what to expect. But with her, she's constantly improving her skill. The second thing that I'd say is her creativity. Like, she's a very, unlike me, she's a very playful, creative, like she can source inspiration from almost anything and everything, even if it's, a breakfast plate or a fashion outfit or, anything sparks creativity or sparks ideas in her, which I think is really a really great trait as a designer. And then lastly, I will say it's her eye for colors. I still struggle with this, like trying to pick the perfect palette or the perfect color theme to go for something. And colors are everything, but Ariyike can easily put colors together to create great design. She can easily mix and match just by looking at something or hearing about a product. She's like, yeah, I think these are the colors that will work perfectly for this brand. And I think that is an amazing trait to have as a designer. Eye for aesthetics.
All right, cool. All right, this is a quick icebreaker for us. One tool has to go forever. Figma or Canva?
Ooh.
I thought about this. Wait, hold on. I thought about this. I was going to say Adobe Creative Suite. Then I was just like, just cancel design as a career. So I had to make the ground even. But that's what's your choice here?
I think Canva has to go.
I don't know. I'm a bit biased to Canva because it's just starting out and it has amazing. They keep adding amazing features that are quite underrated. But sadly, it has to go. If I had to pick between Canva and Figma.
All right. For those that don't know, Figma and Canva are like design platforms. You can pretty much. I'm not exactly sure, but all I know is like you use it to create graphic design. But I'm sure you can pretty much do other cool stuff with it. So yeah, we're pretty much done with the conversation. So now we're going to be going to Q&A. We have about 5 minutes before we have to transition to the next conversation. So we have to maybe make it quick a little bit. So someone asked, we already have like a background or like, we already have like a form where you can ask questions ahead of time. But regardless, someone had a question for you. Do you ever feel one is not creative enough to venture into design?
I don't think so.
And this is because I think creativity is a muscle that can be built the same way you build every muscle in your body. if it's really something that you're genuinely interested in, and that's the difference. The passion and the interest differentiates you from someone who maybe originally can't design and then thinks they can't do design because of that. If you have the passion and the interest, you'd be pushed to keep learning and growing, and like you change. It's like remain the same kind of designer that you are today, that like you were last week, because if you have the passion and the interest, you keep finding ways to learn and grow. So definitely don't let it stop you. If that's why you're holding off starting your career, don't let that be like your hindrance.
That's good. Awesome. Do we have any more questions from the audience? This was just a question someone put ahead of time. Does anyone have any question for Debbie and Ariyike? Let's wait for a couple seconds. So yeah, that makes the conversation. We're done right on time. Just to mention, if you're starting something new, a small business, I can highly recommend Warble Studio. Thank you very much, Debbie and Ariyike, for joining us today. We'll be starting our next conversation in a bit. So everyone stay tuned.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Awesome. So everyone just stay online for a few minutes, in less than 5 minutes, pretty much in about 3 minutes, we're going to be starting our next conversation. So thank you. Bye.
Bye.